Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Elder Council podcast. My name is Jesse. This is the podcast where we talk about D&D, upcoming interesting news relating to the game and other role-playing games. We talk about my campaign and we do a quick glance at the monster manual and talk about monsters that I think are interesting or iconic to the Dungeons and Dragons lore and history, or just monsters that I think that people should use more often in their campaigns and how I think that they should do that. Today, in episode 3, we're going to be talking specifically about the new Unearthed Arcana subclasses that got announced last week. If you were here last week, you noticed that we did not have a podcast. It was my 5-year anniversary with my girlfriend, so we took the week off. I hope you all had a wonderful week, and thanks for being back with us. If you're checking this out on YouTube or recorded after the fact, come and join us live Thursday nights over on twitch.tv/Elder Council. We record all these podcasts live, and we have a couple other days per week where we stream and do cool stuff, including the live campaign that I'll be talking about as well. We do that every Wednesday. So, if you are here live, thanks for being here. Welcome to the podcast. I guess we'll just jump right into it today. I think because the monster we're going to be talking about today, the iconic and voracious purple worm, it ties into our last episode of the live campaign, so we'll talk about that more at the end. We'll just jump right into these new subclasses today because I'm super excited to talk about them. There's a new Bard subclass and a new Paladin subclass. So let me get those pulled up. If you are listening to this recorded after the fact on the live stream of the podcast or the YouTube video, you can see all of the graphics and stuff that we put up on the screen. So if that is something you're interested in, make sure you check that out. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay. Got the purple worm stats pulled up there for later. Okay, here we go. Unearthed Arcana. So if you are not familiar, I've talked about this in, I believe, the first episode of the podcast. They released some new subclasses, and then just a few weeks later, they gave us some more. That we've been very spoiled. I think 6 new subclasses in the last couple months. So Wizards is working hard. The new subclasses, Unearthed Arcana, is the playtesting content that Wizards releases. It's not officially published content, so they release this so people can play with it and give it a shot and see what they like, and then if it's good, they'll put it in a future officially published release, like a book or something. So the new ones, the Bard is the College of Eloquence, and the Paladin is the Sacred Oath of Heroism. These are both really, really cool subclasses. I'm super excited to check them out with you guys today. And I think that they are subclasses that are almost kind of surprising that they didn't exist already. They're that cool, I think, and they're that almost iconic. They just seem like these are things that should come with the classes. You know, when you think of a Bard, at least for me, when I think of a Bard that's not just, the guy standing around in an inn with a lute, this is the type of Bard I think of. And when I think of a Paladin, I also think of this new Paladin subclass. So these are super exciting. The new Bartok College of Eloquence. Adherents to the College of Eloquence master the art of oratory. Persuasion is regarded as a high art, and a well-reasoned, well-spoken argument often proves more powerful than objective truth. These bards wield a blend of logic and theatrical wordplay, winning over skeptics and detractors with logical arguments and plucking at heartstrings to appeal to the emotions of entire audiences. So this bard is the, public speaker, the political master, the poet, the storyteller, and not just the, horny musician that most bard subclasses are made out to be. I think you can go real deep with the name of this subclass is perfect. The College of Eloquence. You can be really an eloquent, intelligent, public speaking type of a person, and the abilities really work well for that as well. Anytime I think about when I want to make a bard or play one, I think about wanting to play as a character that reminds me of, the great Roman and Greek traveling poets and speakers that would travel around to different cities and tell stories for their meals and their lodging. Homer and stuff like that comes to mind. Someone that would they would travel around and gather up the entire town to tell them these amazing tales, and then they would take off, and the tales would spread like wildfire through the country just on word of mouth because of the amazing people who told these stories. So if that type of a character kind of appeals to you, this Bartok College is like A plus for that flavor, and some of the abilities are really great too. So third level, obviously, when you choose this subclass, Universal Speech, you have gained the ability to speak and reason with any creature. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your uses of Bartok Inspiration. When you do so, roll the die and choose a number of creatures within 60 feet that you can see equal to the roll. So roll your Bartok Inspiration, you roll a 3, you can choose 3 creatures. For 10 minutes, the chosen creatures can magically understand you regardless of language, and you have advantage on charisma checks to influence them. This feature works even on a creature that doesn't speak any languages. Very interesting. I don't know. I think that's mostly, just big flavor. You can universally speak and influence anyone, even someone that doesn't speak a language. I think that's like super flavorful, and I always love when they add something to a class that works off of the things that they already have. Anytime something comes up that uses Bartok Inspiration, I think it's an A plus. They should always, default to using that kind of stuff, because a lot of the time, if we've played with a bard in our campaign, and 90% of encounters they forget to use it, or they're just like, they'll give someone inspiration and then the person just never uses it. So giving bards alternate abilities to use those inspiration die on, I think, is always fantastic. At 6th level, they get another 3rd level ability, Soothing Words. You can now cast Calm Emotions without expending a spell slot. You can use this a number of times equal to Charisma mod. Comes back after a long rest. So this is kind of that, the storyteller sitting around the fire and telling everybody the story, kind of the flavor, naturally calms everybody and puts everyone into that soothed state of mind and mood. I really like that. So Calm Emotions, you can cast for free, and a good bard usually going to have 18 or 20 charisma, so you can use this 4 or 5 times per long rest, which potentially is very strong. And this character is going to be at home in a really like politically active campaign setting. If you're doing a big jungle conquest with lots of battling, you might not want to pick a College of Eloquence bard. But if you're in the thick of a political intrigue campaign in a big city, this might be the best class you could pick. Level 6, Undeniable Logic. You can spin words laced with magic into a knot of reasoning that can be encouraging or impossible to follow. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your uses of Bartok Inspiration. There we go, back to that again. I like it. When you do so, choose a creature you can see within 60 feet of you that can hear you, then roll the die. Choose one of the following. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number you roll, and they must succeed on an intelligence saving throw or have a disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. Or the creature regains hit points equal to the number you roll, and they have advantage on the next saving throw that they make before the end of your next turn. This, I think, is a really incredible ability. So let's say you are level 6 or a 6th level bard. Your Bartok Inspiration is, I believe, a D8. So if you roll on average a 4.5, 4 or a 5, so you roll a 5, you can either choose a creature is going to take 5 psychic damage, not great, but then they make that int save, which that's a pretty good save. Not everyone has a super high int. That's pretty commonly a dump stat. And then they get disadvantage on the next saving throw they make, so you can line it up. You know that your cleric or whatever is going to go next. You use this Undeniable Logic, make them have disadvantage, and then the cleric lines up a really sweet spell, or a sorcerer drops a fireball on their head and they have disadvantage on that saving throw. That's pretty dang strong. Or you can heal somebody, like giving a bard an extra heal is pretty nice, and giving them advantage, so quite good to save your ally from an incoming fireball as well. I really like this ability. I think it's quite strong, and you can use it quite often. It's just all it takes is one use of your Bartok Inspiration, so Potentially a pretty powerful, just extra ability. It seems like this class is a really good like support, and like I said, in a like city intrigue campaign setting, this is going to be a really strong support class. They have a lot of uses of all of these abilities. 14th level, Infectious Inspiration. When a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration die to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and the roll fails, the creature can keep the Bardic Inspiration. That's really strong, and that really incentivizes people to use those Bardic Inspiration die. Like I was saying earlier, people often forget about them because, they're not that helpful, or they don't come into play very often. It's just one thing, like who needs just one extra bonus to an attack roll or whatever. But when that is guaranteed to succeed, or they can keep it, it's really, really incredible. But that's not all it does. In addition, when a creature adds one of the die to a roll and the roll succeeds, you can use your reaction to encourage a different creature other than yourself and give it a Bardic Inspiration die without expending any of your uses. So you give your fighter inspiration, they use it, and it succeeds, then you can, as a reaction, give any other character in your party, or anyone that you choose that you can see within 60 feet, you can give them another Bardic Inspiration, and it doesn't take away from the amount that you have left to use. That's really incredible, and you can use this reaction a number of times equal to your Charisma mod per long rest. So this is kind of the inspiration bard, I think. If you like using your Bardic Inspiration and you like having different things you can do with it, this is the Bardic subclass for you. I definitely am leaning towards trying to play one of these if I get to play in another new campaign anytime soon. This is on the close to the top of my list. Really just knocked it out of the park for flavor plus mechanics for me. I really love this class. All right, and that was a nice quick one. The next one is the Sacred Oath of Heroism, Paladin. Really like this one a lot. The Oath of Heroism is an affirmation of a destined path, one laid out for you by divine hands. For whatever reason, a god or group of gods has included you in their machinations. You are not a reluctant hero, but one who fully embraces the idea that great deeds are yours to achieve. You train diligently, sculpting your body and refining your skills so you're ready when destiny calls. I really feel like these two subclasses kind of, they make it seem like they're going for that, like Greek hero type thing. Like a traveling storytelling bard and a big, sculpted heroic paladin character. I could definitely see them being in like a Greek hero adventure. But I really love this paladin because, D&D at its heart is a heroic fantasy game. Your classes and your party wants to make characters to be the heroes of their story. And a paladin is one of the most commonly picked classes by new players. I think people like that idea of, the knight in shining armor using holy magic and a sweet sword. And this subclass is the absolute epitome of that description. It's the hero paladin. So at level 3, you gain oath spells at the paladins listed in the Oath of Heroism spell table. So 3, 5, 9, 13, 17. You get some pretty cool new spells. Expeditious Retreat, Guiding Bolt at level 3. 5th level, Enhance Ability, Enthrall. 9th level, here's the big one, Haste, Protection from Energy. 13th, Compulsion, Freedom of Movement. 17th, Commune, and Conjure Volley. So these obviously are spells that the paladin can use to like quickly move around the battlefield and control the battlefield and the tide of the battle. And then obviously Haste, Enhance Ability, that type of stuff. They're going to be able to buff themselves up and be this, absolute monstrous force on the battlefield. So this is the paladin that you want to be if you are not quite as interested in being like a half tank, half healer. If you just want to be the the star of the show paladin, I think this is a good place to be. Plus, man, any class that gets haste is just top of the line. I think haste is just the best the best thing you can be doing in D&D. I love that spell so much. It's so good. All right, the channel divinity options for the Oath of Heroism paladin are awesome as well. First choice, Peerless Athlete. You can use your channel divinity to augment your athleticism. As a bonus action, you gain advantage on strength and dexterity checks for the next 10 minutes. That's athletics and acrobatics. So pretty much any type of, athletic prowess type of a check that you could be making, leaping over anything like that, all of that good stuff. You are the peerless athlete, the best of the best. And then the other option, Legendary Strike. You can channel divinity as a bonus action to guide your attacks. For 1 minute, your weapons crit on a 19 or 20. That's just, icing on the cake right there. That's a very common ability that happens, with fighters and some other paladins, I think. But, why not use it when you got it? If you feel like a little bit extra lucky, or you need a little bit extra luck and you're doing a big boss battle, you're not going to need the extra advantage on athletics check. You might as well crank up the crit rate and go to town. So not bad at all. 7th level, Mighty Deed. Your actions on the battlefield can supernaturally bolster your allies and demoralize your enemies. Whenever you score a critical hit or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can choose one or more creatures you can see within 30 feet, up to a number equal to your charisma mod. All of the chosen creatures are affected by one of the following effects. The creature either gains temporary HP, or the creature must succeed on a wisdom save or be frightened. So to simplify that, anytime you crit or kill something, you can either inspire your allies or frighten your enemies. Very flavorful and quite powerful. If you, score that first kill on a battlefield with a big wave of enemies coming, you kill the first guy, but there's still 10 more behind him. You can pick up to your charisma mod, which as a paladin, you're going to have +3 to +5 in that range. 3 enemies and make them frightened, or you can give temporary HP to pretty much the entire rest of your party. Very strong and a very flavorful for the heroic paladin to be like the leader of the party. I really like that. So once you use this feature, you can't use it again until the start of your next turn. So if you crit and then kill somebody 2 turns in a row, you can use this 2 turns in a row. So that's potentially, frightening 3 to 5 enemies, and then temporary HP 3 to 5 allies. Very, very strong. 15th level for the Oath of Heroism is Glorious Defense. Your blessed glory on the battlefield can misdirect an attack. Whenever you get hit by a creature you can see, you can use your reaction to gain a bonus to AC against the attack. The bonus equals your charisma mod. If the attack misses, you can make one weapon attack against the attacker as part of this reaction. This is kind of the parry reaction that a lot of enemies and some classes get, but I think this is much stronger. You get your charisma mod to the bonus. So anytime a creature hits you, and I believe you can use this anytime as long as you have your reaction, which is just kind of insane. So yeah, anytime a creature hits you, you just get a bonus to your AC equal to your charisma. So again, 3 to 5 extra AC, which a 15th level paladin with the right gear and the right build, you're already looking at, 18, 19 AC at least. So pretty much you can just think of this as long as you have a reaction, your AC is like 21 or 22. So you're very unlikely to get hit. And, against normal enemies, obviously bosses are still going to be kind of going to town here. But anytime that attack would miss, then you get to make an extra attack. So you're going to be dishing out a ton of damage and being pretty well protected. So Glorious Defense is a good name for that indeed. And the capstone feature, the 20th level Oath of Heroism feature, Living Myth. You can now empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, told of your great deeds. So this really, feeds into that Greek mythology type class that I really was getting the vibe of. As a bonus action, for 10 minutes, you can gain the following benefits. You're blessed with otherworldly comeliness and gain advantage on all charisma checks. So you're just this otherworldly charming being. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead. What? If you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to succeed instead. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So pretty much during any big important boss fight for 10 minutes. Every turn, you can't miss, and you can't fail a saving throw. That's absolutely insane. And if you're in town and you're not going to be doing any battling that day, you can just turn this on and get advantage on all your charisma checks. But just not being able to miss your weapon attacks and not being able to fail a saving throw, that just is like mind blowing. It pretty much gives you like legendary reactions. It's so good. This is like, I might be over judging this, I guess, but it just seems so powerful. And if you are familiar with Unearthed Arcana, these subclasses are, like I said earlier, they're not fine-tuned. They are released for playtest material. They're very often changed in the final product, and they're very often overpowered. But this one just seems like you really are a living myth. And at level 20, you're pretty much always going to be overpowered. Level 20 parties rarely get defeated by anything. They're kind of just ridiculous, but this one just feels amazing. Can't miss, can't fail a saving throw, and you have advantage on all your charisma checks. You're just this powerhouse of a hero paladin. I really like that a lot. I don't think I would ever play an Oath of Heroism paladin. I think it's very much, maybe the first character I ever played, the first character I played in D&D was a paladin, but maybe I would have chosen this for my oath instead of what I did pick, just because it's, that stereotype, like everyone's got to play the big hero paladin at some time, and I think this is the perfect class for that character. So that's it for the two subclasses. I really like those. Let me know what you guys think. If you're watching this on YouTube later, just leave a comment down below. Tell me what you like, if you like the Bard or the Paladin more, and what other subclasses you want to see in the future out of Unearthed Arcana. I really like what they've been doing so far. Can't wait to see the actual books that these come out in. So that's going to do that for the subclasses today. Now we're going to talk real quickly for the rest of the episode about a really iconic monster and how I just used it in our campaign, and how I think that you guys should probably try to use it in your games, because I think it's a really cool one. That is the monster that you can see in the image down below on the screen here if you're watching live or on YouTube, and that's the purple worm. The purple worm, we just battled one in our campaign that I DM for every Wednesday night on the stream here. We battled one, the party defeated it, and I had some really interesting thoughts about it, and I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, I think, in hindsight. If you are unfamiliar, the purple worm is a gargantuan monstrosity, just about 250 hit points, AC of 18, speed of 50 feet, and it can burrow 30 feet as well. Kind of insane stats. It's got a +9 to strength and a +6 to con, but it makes up for it with the int score of 1, which is a -5. This thing literally has the lowest intelligence possible. And I was pretty happy that our party very quickly figured out that this thing probably had a pretty insane strength, so they all buffed themselves on their strength saves and all that stuff, and they avoided making it do any strength saving throws or anything, which would have been not too great. But the purple worm is a CR 15 creature, and it's very commonly used as big boss fights, or a big bad monster that people run into, and then the party gets terrorized by it for a little bit, and then the purple worm just runs away or leaves them alone. A lot of people don't realize it, but playing as a DM, playing as a purple worm, using one against your party, it's harder than you think to correctly use a monster that has an int of 1. You can't play it as something that is going to be, looking for revenge on the party, or, being able to be even really tricked and led around the battlefield in any sort of way through, players kind of talking it into anything, or tricking it, or trying to distract it. There's no common sense or anything there to even take advantage of, or lack thereof. An int of 1, this thing is barely a sentient being. It's just a being of pure animalistic instinct and destruction, and that is the purple worm you see in this image below. It literally is just a giant tunnel with a drill bit on the end of it, essentially this gaping toothy maw that drills through rock and devours everything in its way. um, it's got a couple of cool abilities. It's got a bite that does a pretty decent chunk of damage. Like, these things do dish out the damage, so be careful if you use one on your party. It's got a bite, and then it's got the tail stinger. But um, I guess let me say, before we get into talking about cool ways to use them, when and when not to use them, I just want to say that for a CR15 monster, they can be devastating to a party, or they can be very easily dispatched. It just depends on your party. So you're going to have to know, as a DM, is your party really good at strategy and kind of instantly figuring out the way a monster ticks? You know, do you have someone that in your party that's really smart about, like, okay, this thing is a giant monster. It probably has a high strength. It's probably going to do this and this, so we should probably try certain strategies against it. Or if you're a party full of newer players that don't really have a good feel for that kind of thing, and they just, they all run right up and stand directly in front of this thing and try to wail on it with swords, they're going to get absolutely wrecked. So be careful if you're going to deploy this against a party. Just know your crowd and play to their strengths. If you want, you can absolutely use this as just a total party killer, and I don't recommend that as a DM, ever just using something particularly and just specifically to kill your party. But you could do that with this, and I think that's something that is common with the monsters we've talked about so far. Is I like monsters that have that sort of an edge to them. I don't ever try to like pull my punches against the party, because I respect my players and I think that they're smart enough to figure it out. I always put them in situations where they easily could die, but they also will have a really fun and challenging experience if they play correctly, and I think that they have always done that so far. So with that in mind, I used it on my party last night. They were traveling through this desert location, kind of occasionally picking off a zombie here or there, and they started, hearing the rumbling in the distance, and they continued traveling, and it got closer and closer, and they see these people running away towards them in the distance, and they catch up to them and try to see what's going on and see if they're okay, and then the worm emerges and initiative is rolled, and they very quickly figured it out. They spread apart. They started taking it down from range. They buffed each other up. They got everything going well, and it worked really well for them. And as a party of 4 6th level characters, they took down a CR15 purple worm. They did have a couple close calls. They and this is part of me, like, I threw this at them after they had already been doing a full adventuring day. They did not get a rest in between their last encounter and the purple worm, which I do that on purpose often, so they don't have the full arsenal of abilities at their ready. I think that's an important part of 5th edition, is not just letting your party long rest in between every single fight. Then they will never be challenged if you do that. So pretty beaten down party of 6th level characters defeated this purple worm, and I'm not surprised at all. They did a great job. They did have 2 people go down and start making death saves, but they I don't feel like they were ever actually in danger of party wiping against this thing. By the time they almost had it down, they were going down, and it just really added to that tension, and they finished it off just in time for one of the players to like be regurgitated out and not die from this thing. So that's one cool thing about the purple worm's bite attack. It does a lot of damage. It does 3d8 plus 9 piercing damage, which is decent at this level, especially against 6th level characters. One solid bite can take half of their HP or more. But if they get bit, they have to succeed on a DC 19 dex save, which at 6th level, good luck. Or they get swallowed by the worm. And then if you get swallowed, you're blinded and restrained, and you have to take 6d6 acid damage at the start of each turn, or deal 30 damage or more to the worm from inside of it to make it regurgitate you. It seems a little brutal, so you want to, like I said, use this against a party that will figure out, like, the tank needs to be the one that's taking this thing head on and be the one that gets swallowed. If you have a wizard that's the guy that is the one that gets swallowed and is trying to take this thing from the front, 6d6 acid damage at a low level party could easily be a kill against a wizard or a low level sorcerer or something. So if you have a really squishy party or low HP, or you're playing a really deadly campaign and your party's really broken down by the time they fight this thing, be a little careful and maybe don't use it against that level of party. CR 15, you probably should be using this against more like a level maybe 8 to 10 party, but I felt pretty confident in our group that they could take it out. Yeah, purple worms I think are super interesting. When and where should you use them? If your party is, if you are traveling through a big open expanse and you just want some filler, so you're not doing the boring travel thing where you're like, all right, you guys are on one side of the forest and you travel to the other, and you're walking some more, and you don't want to do that whole exposition boring travel thing. Throw a purple worm in there or something like it. Use that for your inspiration. I really like these creatures a lot. If you're just a fan of just classic D&D, this is one of the best monsters you can use. I think it's iconic for that reason. Characters and players will immediately know what's up as soon as you say, you start feeling this roarous rumbling underground. Somebody's gonna exclaim it in the party. Someone's gonna say, "Oh, purple worm's coming." And as soon as someone says that, your new player is going to be like, wait, what's that? What's a purple worm? And then someone else is going to go, oh God, I had a character die to one of these, years ago. And it's just instantly this evocative thing. People in real life, are naturally, they have this human instinct to be afraid of snake-like creatures, and there's been horror movies, classic like Tremors and Dune, about the big sandworms and stuff like that. So I think if you are looking for an iconic D&D monster to really give your party a good story to remember for a long time, or just freak them out and maybe kill them, the purple worm is a great choice. So I think that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the talk about the new subclasses and had a cool time learning about the purple worm, or going over it a little bit more. I know it wasn't a super in-depth description and talk about the purple worm. I just like to talk about things from the perspective of how I like to use them and what I think about them. If you're looking for a deep dive on some monsters, let me know in the comments what you want to see. And there are a lot of podcasts that do, in-depth, one-by-one, case-by-case basis monsters from the manual, and I definitely recommend you check those out too. But that's going to be it for today. If you would like to check this out or other episodes, you can definitely check them out on YouTube. And if you're already there on YouTube, come by the live stream Thursday nights or any other day of the week, and we'll be doing something fun. Thank you so much for checking out the Elder Council podcast. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.